This is the Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Hill. What they gonna say next?
Hello, this is the Basketball Show. Joe Healy and Shane the Hammer Hill with you. It's all thanks to TCL Mobile, NBA 2K23 and UPCOZ. Hammer, how's the week been?
Been great. Let's talk waffles.
Let's talk waffles. You and your waffles. Honestly, I arrive here every week and he shows me a photo of a waffles from AJ's.
A waffle
and
sandwich.
To be fair, they look amazing.
They are.
Need to come down and try one.
Yep, that's why I have to do some extra walking. Don't worry about that.
We have a big show to get through today as well. We're talking about the Aussies who are playing all over the world at the moment, taking over.
It's surprising how many are over there. They've left our shores. I hope they come back.
Could this be a bad thing for the NBL?
Maybe.
We will discuss. Let's get into it. This is our TCL starting five. First point of call, congratulations to the Townsville Fire, WNBL champions this season. As you predicted, they did it in 2 games. That game 2 was a close one. It was highly entertaining. I liked it.
Well, we expected they would fight back Southside because they got a lot of pride and some quality players as well. So that third quarter was really tight. But 16 in a row for Townsville. That is incredible.
It's pretty amazing. Did you watch from home or did you go down to Melbourne for it?
No, I watched from home. So I was
biting
really
your fingernails on the edge of the sofa?
Biting my fingernails. Well done to Shannon Seabohm, Coach of the Year, championship winner now. Lauren Nicholson, great captain. She really is.
She was brilliant. I actually loved, did you see at the end the girls were wiping away her mascara because she's a bit emotional knowing that she had to go and speak after the game. I loved it.
2 great imports. Steph Reed was outstanding as well. So really good team effort. And they have celebrated. They put on a show up there in Townsville every day. It's been ticket tape or at the football or they're at the Ville today. So lots happening.
It's been fantastic. I do have a question. What happens to this group from here? Are they disbanding next season or do they get to keep the majority of the girls together?
I think Steph Reed and Nicholson, they're the core partners of Tina. They're 3 good pieces that I believe are contracted and they'll be there. So they're always going to be in the top 4 with those. Imports always come and go, but I know they fit in really well, really good people and had great seasons as well. So if I'm Shannon Seabohm, I'm trying to get them done as soon as I possibly can and then they give themselves a chance again.
Well, speaking about coming and going, we're looking through the amount of Australian and local players from the NBL who are playing overseas now that the season is done, and there are what, 30 plus?
That's ridiculous.
It's
great.
It's pretty amazing. You know, CG over there in Paris, Keanu Pinder, who is balling out in Spain. He had a 21-point double-double over the weekend.
Against Real Madrid, if you don't mind.
Exactly. The guys are doing really, really well. It's exciting to see.
It's really good that the guys can play our season. And they sacrifice some of the bigger contracts overseas to play our season, and then they go and just get a little bit of the cream at the end of the season. The only risk is if some of these guys play really well, there may be some offers thrown out there where, like a Keanu Pinder, may not come back. We just can't afford him. If he gets picked up by a big club and you're getting paid euros after tax, then we simply cannot compete here in Australia.
It's bittersweet, isn't it? Because the NBL positions themselves as that league that's a stepping stone to bigger and better things. But you also want the best players back here where possible to make this competitive.
And it's our guys going to the NBA as well. You know, Brantley has a big game for Utah. What do you have? 13 points in 16 minutes.
And the game before that was 7 and 12. And the commentators talking about how well of an impact he's had only just being there for 10 days. Let's hope he picks up another one before the end of the season.
Some of the women playing overseas too. Ezzy, Alana Smith, Kunick's been over there for a long time. We really don't talk a lot about them because they're doing really well over there, but they're out of mind, out of sight a little bit. So, well done to them as well, having great seasons.
Well, a couple of the other guys who have been over there for a little bit longer, you likes of Dante Exum, Nick Kay, Brock Modem, those guys. We have been looking into how they've been doing. Dante over the weekend,
but he's been doing it for 2 years. He
looks so much more in control watching him than he ever has before, though.
He is a legitimate superstar. I would be so interested if he was back in the NBA about what he would be doing right now because he's at a different level. When you go to Europe, you learn to play a different style of basketball. mostly half court, and his IQ would be through the roof when you put his experience in the NBA playing for the Boomers. He's a really important piece of the Boomers lineup. Don't ever forget that. He is critical, playing great basketball, well done. And in the highest level, these teams in Europe, in the EuroLeague, are off the charts as far as talent.
They are building as well, Partizan Belgrade, so fingers crossed for them pushing into the end of the season. How much of the Boomers campaign, given that this is a World Cup year, how much is that on their mind at the moment, do you think?
No, I mean, they take care of their job now. That's the day-to-day. It's always in the back of your mind that this is coming up and you look forward to it. You can't wait. But you don't look too far ahead because the pressure's on a week to week. Nick Kay playing in Japan's playing great basketball. Modem hasn't really spent much time with the Australian team, but he's playing good basketball too.
Well, he hasn't spent a lot of time, but remembering he left the Tokyo squad early before the Aaron Baines injury. Had he still been there at that time, wasn't he the next guy up?
Potentially. I mean, we've got so many next guys up, and we're talking about all the shiny little toys that are playing in the NBA now, and rightly so because they're the up-and-coming superstars. But you can't forget some of these guys that are doing it in other parts of the world as well.
No, exactly. 19 and 7 Brock is averaging. He's had a 39, a 32 and a 29-point outing as well.
Shooting at over 40%
He's shooting
every season.
really, really well. He's playing with Sam Froling too, who's obviously just joined the group. He's been fairly handy since they've picked him up. That Japanese B League, it's got those guys. Big Source is playing there as well. I was watching footage of him play against Kai Soto the other day. These guys are everywhere.
It's huge, isn't it? And no doubt Chris Golding will get his jump shot going for the playoffs in France.
He looks like he's enjoying it. He
France,
looks like a Frenchman already.
France?
He's got the facial hair and everything.
He's got
The hair's not back. Maybe a beret or
swagger.
something.
The French would love his swagger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, I think so. Somebody else who we have failed to mention over the last couple of weeks, but who is also having themselves a season is Jack White, who's over there playing in the G League. His numbers, I've got way too much paper in front of me here. For Grand Rapids, is there a more American team name ever? I don't think there is. No. Averaging 19, 9 and 5, a couple of assists. He's picking off and getting a few steals each game as well.
That sounds great, 19, 9 and a half, but his second half of the year would dwarf those numbers. So he must have been a bit lower early because the numbers I saw from his last 6 or 8 games have been crazy. He looks so good and ready. You're doing that time there, but when he gets his chance in the NBA, he's just slot in, ready to go.
He's just letting Michael Malone that, he's here, he's still ready.
Here we go.
I'm good. That is pretty much all we've got time for the TCL starting 5. But one more thing that we saw on social media recently was Bryce Cotton, who was put into a category alongside Will McDowell-White and Milton Doyle. The NBL put this up. And
Two really good players.
2 very good players. So here it is. Who would you start? Who would you bench? Who would you cut of these 3? Bryce took exception to this.
And so he should.
And just left his resume up there and just sort of said, guys, I cannot believe this is even a conversation. Take my name out of this and put some respect on it.
Put somebody else in at the same level because they're 2 really good players. But they're not Bryce Cotton.
No.
Bryce Cotton's one of the greatest we've seen come to this country at a different level than McDowell-White, who has been really good and has elevated his game. And Doyle's been good too. And, well done to them. It's not an insult to them, but they need to get somebody in the same category. Someone at the NBL needs to give themselves a forehead slap over that.
Let's say you're starting Bryce Cotton then, of Will McDowell-White and Milton Doyle. Who are you benching? Who are you cutting?
Oh, that is a line ball. That's a photo finish.
I can't answer that.
I'll go with McDowell-White that is staying with us just on his upside because he's younger.
Okay.
That's all. And
I like the way you did that. It is time for Points Made thanks to UPCOZ. Derek Rucker, as always, joins us from Brisbane. He is the mayor of the city up there after all. D, how you doing this week?
Very well, Jill. Hammer, what's going on?
No, just loving your backdrop, mate. Just a beautiful place you live.
All right, let's get straight into it, guys. We're talking Ben Simmons. Disappointed to say, obviously, people would have seen the news and the headlines now that it looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the season. He has a nerve impingement in his back. What do you say to this? Where does this leave Ben Simmons? Where does this leave the Nets, the rest of his career moving forward?
You're saying it like you're shocked that he's been shut down.
I'm not shocked. I'm just, it's frustrating. You want him to do well.
But do you reckon Ben's frustrated?
Yes.
Like he's just split with his agency. Do you think, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure that he is. I'm just not sure that his heart's in it. I'm just not sure that he's passionate about getting through. Seems like the coach had a heart-to-heart with him, and from that time of the heart-to-heart, and the coach said that, you know, he heard some things that probably other people wouldn't tell him. He just seems to have lost his passion now. If he's got a legitimate back injury, then hope he gets better, but just not seeing the desire to want to do what we know he's capable of. Come on, Ben.
I know what you're talking about. And one of the things that's really hard about Ben is he doesn't seem real accessible at the moment. He's really laying low, so we don't know what his true thoughts are. So much of this is just speculative. And I wish we really got to talk to him and understand what's going on. When was the last time you guys have seen him in an interview? Like, how bad is the back? Nerve impingement. That means a lot of things. And it's such a gray area type injury. We've known plenty of guys that have played through nerve impingement. But then also, you cannot play through it. So, you know, I don't want to be too harsh on Ben, but all these things put together, Shane, is just a ball of frustration, just unattained success, and just a waste of potential.
Yeah, well said. I think that's been one of the biggest issues for fans of Aussie basketball and Ben, is that he isn't accessible. And for a long time, we've not really known what's been going on in his head. I know he's obviously suffered a lot with mental health and things like that, but just to know something.
Well, we were talking off air about, you know, Ben's got another couple of years. What will he do after that? He seems like the sort of guy to me that might not have the desire to even play. You know, he's made a bunch of money. He doesn't really want to be in the limelight. Seems like the whole Philly experience just killed him. Just doesn't seem passionate about going through the process on the day-to-day, the highs and lows. And, you know, if that's the way he is, then God bless him. He's going to be able to live a very happy life out of the limelight. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure he wants to be out of the limelight, Shane, because other parts of his life, the non-basketball aspects of his life, he seems to broadcast quite freely and wants the public to be a part of that. And I think he's misaligned in terms of what the public and his fans' priorities are. He's famous because he plays basketball. You can never forget that. And we've seen many, many players lose sight of that. And often you lose sight of your purpose and your true talent, and you end up like this, underachieving.
I still hope that he can turn things around, so we'll see what happens over the next little while. We'll talk about the Dallas Mavericks now. They're 11th in the West. They've lost 4 in a row, 2 straight to the Hornets as well. Luka Doncic, he's not himself at the moment. He's admitted that. We'll take a listen to what he had to say in the week, and then we'll discuss.
It's really frustrating. You know, I think you can see it with me on the court. Sometimes I don't feel it's me, you know, just being out there. You know, I used to have really fun, smiling on court, but it's just been so frustrating, maybe for a lot of reasons, not just basketball.
He definitely looks a little bit down in the dumps. He was also fined $35,000 for inferring that the referees were making a bit of moolah for a certain no call during the week as well. What do you do, Hammer, if you're Mark Cuban, remembering that Luka has gone for 40 and 34 in his last 2 games? It's not as if he's not putting up the numbers and balling out there, but he's not happy.
I've felt like that. After the 2000 Olympics, when you're playing a lot of games, and they play a lot more games than what we do in the NBL, but I remember coming back from Greece, going through the whole thing of getting ready for the Olympics, got halfway through the NBL season, and I felt exactly like that. I felt like I needed a break. I felt like mentally and physically, you just run down, and you don't know what else he's got going in his life as well, but he looks mentally and physically fatigued. You look at that, and he's right. Normally he plays with a smile on his face, and I heard his coach, European coach, say he should never have been able to put that out there. He needed to be able to get through it. But sometimes I get it. You know, he wears his heart in his sleeve, and right now he's just going through a down period.
Look, I can't believe how soft you have gotten and how empathetic you are towards Luka. He needs to stop crying and play basketball. Joe, you said he's playing great. Yeah, he's putting up raw numbers. There's no doubt about that, but he is very inefficient. Shane, for all the greatness we talk about with Luka, if you look at his shooting numbers, they are far below average and what someone of his talent level should be producing. He's a 34% career three-point shooter. Terrible. He's a 74% free throw shooter. Terrible. Right now, the guy is a volume scorer. But I'm not putting all the blame on him. That Dallas Mavericks organization have a lot to answer for. They have left him out there stranded for a lot of years without enough talent around him, which also could be contributing to these poor numbers that I just mentioned. Now, they brought Kyrie in there. And what can you say about that? They're horrible when those two guys play together. They're actually best when Luka's not in the lineup and Kyrie's running the show by himself. So I don't see how this ends. There's no prosperous future in sight for the Mavericks constructed the way they are right now. But Luka just needs to go out there, toughen up a little bit, play better basketball, and hope that the Mavericks this offseason can do something. Otherwise, you know what I do if I'm Luka? We've both done it before. We go to the man, Mark Cuban, and say, hey, check this out, my man. I am out. Find me a team. I'm going to hoop somewhere else. You've let me down. Bye.
But I put their style into this as well. And part of that is Luka, because he demands so much of the ball. He's got so much usage. So when you're taking contested shots, your numbers might be good because of the volume of shots that you're getting. But he doesn't get anything easy because he's never off the ball. He never cuts. He never moves. Other people, there's no sort of system. It's all ISO ball. It wears you down. And sometimes you need to be able to get some back cuts. You need to be able to get some easy points. He doesn't get any of that.
All right, guys, we're talking the Portland Trail Blazers now. They went down again this morning to OKC. I think they're about 4 games outside of the play-in at the moment. Dame Lillard in particular, he's been shut down for the rest of the season. He's not happy about it from the point of view of the organisation rebuilding.
Yes.
What do you make of this? Because I'm not sure
let's have a look at the quote.
Necessarily. So this is not what I'm interested in. He's talking about rebuilding. That's what's frustrating about all of this. Talking about what's going to happen next season, us building, that's not what I'm here to do, especially at this stage of my career. So completely understand that.
You and I disagree a little bit on this, right? So maybe put your...
Well, I wonder whether them rebuilding is a longer process, but them shutting him down, given that they're not going to make the play-in, it looks like at this point, and the draft class that is coming through that they're going to be in the lottery for, it's not necessarily rebuilding if they simply have... this next few months to
it's a smart move
bolster the team
from what they're doing from this point in time. The problem is he's been so loyal to this organisation. He's just sick of it. He goes, I'm not at this stage of my career where I want to keep getting shut down. I didn't get to finish the season. You need to put other players around me to be able to give me a chance to be able to win a title because that's what he's here for. Otherwise, he would have left years ago. So I understand his frustration. He doesn't want to be shut down at the end of the season. He wants to be performing on the big stage to be able to get it done when the money's on the line. So I respect that. They have to make some trades. It's no good just them getting some really good, talented kids. That's not going to help him win a championship over the next 4 years. They need more talent. They need a responsibility to be able to pay him back for his loyalty and bring some big-time players there to give themselves a chance to win.
And this is a classic case of everybody has their point where they can't be pushed beyond. Dame has been really loyal. He's gone out there and produced year after year. I thought he should have garnered some MVP attention this year, the way he was going off. And look here now. He's going to say in this offseason, now you shut me down. He's going to survey the college landscape, and he's going to look and realistically wonder, who's going to change this? If I got this college player or if I got this international player on the Blazers right now, is this guy going to make a 20-win difference to our lineup? I don't think there's anybody out there that's going to do that. Not even Wemby.
But do they not actually add to potentially trade value for somebody else that they bring in? That's kind of where I'm coming from here.
Potentially, and I think from the organisation's point of view that what they're doing is the right way to go about it. It's just a frustration from Dame that he wants to win now. And this is a process that's taken longer. And it has taken many years longer than what he probably thought when they were in a position to be able to compete a number of years ago. So that's just frustration, and I get it, and I agree with him.
All right, very quickly, before we keep going, March Madness. We are in the thick of it. Love this time of year, getting down to the pointy end of the tournament. D, who have you got in the men's Final Four?
Wow, this is tough, Joe. I really like the way UConn is playing. I think they're going to win it all. I'll just go to the head of it right away. Now, as a side note, I am a big no for the transfer portal. All right. But the transfer portal has allowed all of this parity to happen and some of the results we're seeing right now in college basketball to occur. Great teams like Kentucky, Duke, Carolina, all these guys were able to recruit the top name players out of high school, play them, and if you weren't good enough to play at those schools, they could still hoard them and keep them in the line. But now the players have the right, the prerogative to say, you know what, I don't want to stay here anymore. And they're going to smaller schools like a Florida Atlantic and making an impact, and they're high-level players. So now that whole thing is so much more even, Shane. And look at the teams we have left over. Everyone's black bracket is blown up. I don't think anybody's going to win it this year, and it's because of the transfer portal.
So why are you against the transfer portal with all those great points you just made?
Because I hate how it gives players too much of an out if things get a little bit too tough for them.
Yeah, but what about the player that, everything that's promised to them, they get buried at the end of the bench and they don't get what they thought they were going to get? What about the players that go somewhere, are promised the world, and then the coach gets up and says, you know what, I'm out of here now, and you're stuck in a situation you didn't want to be? So I think there's a lot of areas where the transfer portal is good for situations that change, and the player can go to a different situation.
Now, I know one school that is going to have 7 players enter the portal. So I didn't say it was all bad. I haven't loved it, I said. Now, I think the best thing to do is provide a limit on how many can go into the portal from your school and how many can enter. But right now, it's just like you may as well be playing pro because people enter it. And then it's just like I had coaches last week call me saying, hey, I might be interested in your players, but right now I got to wait to see what the portal does. So, there is give and take there. And hopefully they find a medium ground where it's just not an escape out of kids learning valuable life lessons.
Mate, at the end of the day, these universities are making that much money. The kids aren't getting paid. Give them something, mate. All the powers with the coaches.
Well, some are getting paid now, though. Some are getting
not
paid.
From the colleges, they're not. From endorsements.
No, they're getting nil payments so they can get paid.
That's right, but not from the schools.
All right, it's an interesting conversation. I'm on the FAU train for the men's tournament for the rest of it. Hammer, talking about the women, Virginia Tech, Aussies need to get around Georgia Amore.
Georgia Amore is going off. I saw this young lady playing the under-17 Australian team many years ago. Great kid, good family, and she is putting up some serious numbers. Well done to her, and let's hope she can go all the way.
And it's going to be interesting to see if she gets the chance to match up against Caitlin Clark, who has been the superstar of the women's side. And look, it's such an interesting tournament. The competition is so tough. And I think, all Australian high schoolers that have aspirations to go over there, you should be watching the men's and the women's to get an idea of what it's about, the type of dedication it takes, and how disciplined you got to be. And you've got to play both ends of the floor, Hammer.
Certainly do. Well done, Aussies.
Yeah, no doubt. It's been awesome. It pretty much took up my entire weekend. But for anybody at home, Virginia Tech against Ohio State tomorrow. That is Tuesday at midday to cheer on Georgia Amore in that one.
Yes.
All right, Dee, thank you so much. Love your work.
Oh, yeah, Dee.
Good job, guys. Talk to you soon.
Time to go in-depth thanks to NBA 2K23 with an Aussie coach who is plying his trade over there in Taiwan, Brendan Joyce. So great to have you on the basketball show. How are you? Can you paint a bit of a picture of what life is like over there?
Yeah, as every coach knows, it's great when you're winning. We were champions last year, and a win on the weekend. We just beat Dwight Howard's team. It's like it's massive news over here in Taiwan with Dwight Howard. So we've just sealed top 4, and now we're probably going to be around about 3rd this year. I've got a couple of injuries, but I'm just laughing at the picture I put up. There are a couple of local pictures of me coaching here in Taiwan, and it's been fantastic. Obviously when you have success, everything's great. We're going pretty well, although we have some adversity. We have some injuries this year, but it's a second-year team. The league's only been going for 2 years, so we were the inaugural winner, champion last year. So this year's a little tougher. Dwight Howard, I just mentioned, is coming and playing with the team, and we beat them yesterday, but they're still in playoff contention. So it'll be interesting in the next month or so where it all ends up.
Well, Chock, congrats on winning the championship last year. Huge, opportunity for you going overseas and all the rest of it. Can you paint the picture of what it's like coaching overseas? Translators and the language barriers. It must be difficult at times.
Yeah, no, it can be, Shane. And I wish I had done it a long time ago, but, like you, I got 4 kids. I had opportunities to go overseas, but I didn't take them because I didn't want to leave the kids. And now they're all grown up, and, it's just timing out of the blues. So they contacted me. Can I tell you a story about how they signed me, Shane? They contacted me, and it was through Damien Cotter, who's over at Chicago. They wanted an Australian coach. And anyway, we had a discussion. I presented what I could do with them with a new team because I coached a new team before in a new franchise. And after it, they said, "Oh, can we sign you for 2 years?" And I said, "Look, I really only want to sign for 1 year. I haven't coached overseas before, and I just know the challenges that are in front of us." And he said, "Coach, we've done the research. We know you win wherever you go. We want to sign you for 2 years." I said, "Look, I prefer to sign for 1 year because we need to see how things go because you might not like me." You might not like how I do things, and I might not be happy with some things. So let's just go with 1 year. And during the process of the year, obviously we're having a lot of success. It got near the end. They're trying to extend my contract. I said, "No, I want to get through the playoffs." Because as you know, Shane, ownership can be very emotional. You want to, and again, me being from another country, as you just mentioned, it's really important that you have to find out you have that support. When you're winning, it's okay. It's when you go through the tough times. And anyway, as once we won the championship, they put a big offer on the table, and I've signed with them, but I still have an option each year for a couple of years, so I could do whatever I want. But they committed to me, which is pretty awesome. I've got an awesome CEO. He's Taiwanese, but he went to Stanford University, lived in the US for 10 years. His wife is the chairman. If you got quality owners, you can do anything. And I've got, a quality CEO, good ownership, and we all work well together. So painting the picture, man, I tell you, like you said, the translators, I'm just going here. The biggest challenge I had, like we're 9-1, right, last year. And I'm into trying to build a culture. And you guys all know this, like in Australia, culture's big. Well, what's culture here? What's a culture? So I show them an All Blacks video. I talk to them about being good people, not just great players. But Shane, you've been a part of what I've tried to do before. So you totally understand it. But it was really interesting. The assistant coaches are there, players are there. And anyway, everyone walks out. And next minute I see my translator and one of my assistant coaches start screaming at each other in Chinese. Like the next minute, the assistant coach is going to attack my translator. My translator is only 5'4", he's a boxer, right? And I'm thinking, I don't think you should mess with my translator. He's a tough little dude. Anyway, run out. What's going on? And they're screaming at each other. And translator goes, "Coach, he unprofessional. In this sort of way, it's unprofessional." And I said, "Well, what's he saying?" He said, "I'll tell you later." Anyway, apparently the assistant coach said the cultural stuff I was delivering was all BS. We just got to coach basketball. I've got three US players and a Filipino American, so I'm trying to build an international culture. But that was a big challenge, pulling those two guys apart and then understanding the assistant coach has no idea about the importance of cultural development of the team, actions of players and things like that. So it's been an education for them. It's been an education for me. So, there's challenges along the way. But as you say, the translator, I'm blessed. My translator 100% understands me. He went to college in America, married an American girl. So we've got all, from that point of view, I'm pretty blessed to have that situation. But there's more challenges, but that's probably the biggest one I had, especially last year.
Well, it looks like you're in such an incredible position there and fortunate enough to have the support of management as well. You mentioned Dwight Howard before. Given your success in the inaugural season, you were then the All-Star coach and you coached him in that game. Can you talk about that experience, coaching someone of that kind of caliber and what he was like, I guess?
It's like coaching Shane Hill. It's like coaching Shane
Must
Hill.
Be a good bloke, is he?
Well, when you got great players like Dwight and you got Shane, I think of Shane, especially at the end of his career, their talent, their experience, you work with them. So, and even though it's an all-star game, what I wanted to find out first was just what his thoughts were on that. Now, he's had, it's well documented. He's had a pretty tough time. And, everyone has opinions and, he's suffered a lot of abuse, really. So I think this has been enlightening for him coming to Taiwan. But there's also pressure because of who he is, that there's just an expectation of instant success. And there's some great teams here. Like, everyone talks about the NBL, but, we got blokes that have played in the NBA. Actually, not rookies trying to make it. But you got him, and then the other I think it's Davis. He's played in the NBA. What I said to him, I said, well, what do you want to do? So, I got hold of him first before the All-Star game. I said, how do you want to look at this? He goes, I want to treat it like those All-Star games in the US. There. Now, he goes, I want to win. I go, okay, that's music to my ears. So, and I felt once I got a feel for what he wanted, naturally all the players are going to look up to him, 7-time NBA All-Star, what he's achieved. And I thought, for me, this is what does it mean to me? What an opportunity to coach a super player, even though it's an All-Star game. So we just talked about basically, just spacing really to allow the players to play with some basic stuff, with on-ball screens and what we call just basically spreading the floor and letting the players play. That's what you do in an All-Star game. But we had a little bit of structure just so they weren't run up and down crazy and looking stupid. So, he wanted to win.
Chuck, what sort of money does what sort of money does someone like Dwight Howard get to play in that league?
What I understand is he gets about $2 million. We aren't paying anybody that, but he's on about $2 million. And I wanted an energy company, Leopards. I think it's called Leopard Energy Company. They're called the Taiwan Leopards. Apparently, when he signed, the shares went up. I don't know how. An electrical company, right? Energy company. But when he signed, they made $40 million on the share market just because he signed. I don't know what he does for electricity, but that's it.
Hey Chuck, does it with the success you've had in the NBL and the great job you did with the Opals and Basketball Australia, you've won championships, you go overseas, you win. I've played in your program. I've known you for 40 years and playing under you, you're one of the greatest coaches that we've had in the country. Does it frustrate you that you had to go overseas rather than being offered some, plum jobs here and bring that winning success in the NBL?
Yeah, it was frustrating me at the time a little bit, especially after I finished with the Opals, winning a bronze medal. And we only, we're 5-1 at the Olympics. And I don't want to go there with a 2-point loss, one of the biggest heartbreaking losses of all time. But you've got to keep things in perspective. And, I understand how it works, especially with Basketball Australia. And they, I'll say it, I think everybody knows, but no one said it. They wanted a female coach, which I have no problem with because Sandy Brondello's a friend. So I did the best job I could. And as you know, Shane, it wasn't just coaching the Opals. Everyone forgets I was in charge of the women's program. So all the kids you see them playing for the Opals now, I brought them through, in regard to identifying the selection, Ezzy. There's so many of them. Christy Wallace, your daughter was about to come into the program, Shyla, which was at the end of mine. But all those kids that come through. And then the appointment of Shannon Seaborn. When I appointed him as the under-17 coach, I got a call from Basketball Australia, what are you doing? Saying we've got WNBL coaches. So I made some pretty tough decisions. And sometimes those decisions, I'm not sure how well they go down, but everybody knows what Shannon did. He won us the under-17 Sapphires gold medal. I said to him, just wait to see. This guy knows what he's doing. He was aligned with us, with the Opals program. 4 of those, I had some of those kids, those under-17 kids, train with us in the Opals. So they went over there, they were training against the senior women. So I'm so proud of Shannon. I know you, when you speak about the Opals, I want to talk about a guy like that because I'm just so proud he won the WNBL championship as well. But going back to the question, I guess I didn't realise it. It's just been a great experience here. I'm not sure. I've had a couple of teams reach out, but I don't know how serious they are. But I don't know if I need to go there because I back to the NBL because this is, this has been great. I had a massive offer from China to coach the Chinese women B team. I won't go into that. I knocked that back. That comes through Yao Ming. They knew what I did with the Opals. That was last year. So a lot of people, Timsy knows, the first thing I did was reach out to Michelle. Tims, tell me about this. She goes, Chock, you got to go. So I was about to go, and then with all the, or negotiate an agreement, but then COVID and the 21-day quarantine, Japan has reached out. As you know, we've got some of the boys in Japan. So, Shane, I've won the championship at the NBL, played in it. Whether I come back to it, I don't know. Am I upset about it now? Not really, because this is a great experience and family comes over and it's a new experience. And look, I get to coach a guy like Dwight Howard. Now I know you'll love this. They asked me if I coach Boogie, right? Boogie, from all of a sudden, because Dwight Howard's here, my coach, my owner says, can we get Boogie? I go, oh my God, I don't know if I can coach Boogie, right?
I'm sure you could. Crack the whip on him, you'll be fine.
That's a story. There's a story in that too, going through that process to think about coaching him and reaching out to people overseas, but maybe for another time.
Most definitely. You look like you're really happy anyway and enjoying it. And also something I did note that your Pies are doing okay to start the season.
Oh, don't get him going on the Pies. They haven't won forever. They beat Geelong in one game and that's all I hear about. Come on, Choc.
Well, I'm sure everybody's at you, mate. You got your premiership last year and, we've got a team that's looking really good. I don't want to get too carried away. You're right.
Mate.
We're right. We've got to work premiership, but this is looking good.
Exactly right. Brendan Joyce, thank you so much for being on the Basketball Show. Awesome to chat and best of luck with the rest of this season.
Well done, brother. Happy for you. Well done.
No worries. Thank you.
That was an absolute jam-packed show.
That was, Choc. Jeez, we had it all, didn't we?
It was great. And actually, while we were on air, we were talking about Georgia and Moore with Virginia Tech. Last year, POA and LSU, they are through to the Final Four of the women's
Aussie battle. Do they match up?
NCAA championship. I don't know
you
who.
Don't even know. Come on, Joe.
Do you know?
No idea.
Well,
But that's why
you're
about the detail. But free agency starts for the NBL.
Tomorrow. Yes, watch this space. We still think it's Will McDowell-White, Keanu Pinder. Which one's the bigger one?
Oh, Pinder's bigger, McDowell-White. But he, as you've said all along, he's probably not even going to be in the NBL, I would think. You've said it all along. I think you're right.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
Just pat me on the back.
Okay. I love that. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, as always, to TCL Mobile, NBA 2K23 and UPCOZ. We will see you next week.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.